Sorry, Scott. For quite a few years, the Springboks have been ranked higher than Australia. They won the last World Cup, but Australia's the Wallabies seem to have the wood on them. And why do you think we've performed so well against South Africa and maybe not against some other teams? Is there a match up there that just suits us?
Probably because we've come off bad losses. That's it.
What do you mean by that?
Last year in Perth we had our pants pulled down. Argentina too, same deal. So the timing, I suppose, if you're a Box supporter, isn't great. I don't think it's any reflection on the Box at all.
Okay. Is there not something you think our game matches up a little better against them?
Oh, look, there's intricacies, but I'm not about to talk about those. You guys are the experts. You go and work it out.
So looking at that attack from last Saturday, I mean, you have one try where your loose head prop is throwing a long ball for your fly half to go through a gap. Another try where, it's set up by a couple of forwards with short hands, putting them through gaps. Have you seen that sort of progression where, 1 to 15 could be playmaker? Do you think that's kind of been one of the big sort of strengths and work-ons of this Wallabies team over the past, say, 12 to 18 months, in your opinion?
Oh, look, I think it's indicative of the whole system within Australia at the moment. So the States, I know the States have worked really hard on the skill levels as well as the fitness levels of players. So whilst we've worked really hard on it, I don't think we can take all the credit. I think you actually have to go back to the States, the Super Rugby teams, and commend them on their programs and the way that they've, I suppose, we've integrated together.
I guess sort of having that integration at that state level, when you get to a Wallabies camp where you have a couple of weeks to just kind of drill it in, does it make it a lot easier now to kind of run the type of plays and the type of attack you want to, as maybe compared to in the past?
Look, it definitely makes it a wee bit easier. Yeah. But once again, during the season, we're sort of sharing ideas. I think that's another one from a coaching point of view where we're all growing. So, I go to the States and every time I walk away, I've learnt something. So it's, it's a double-edged sword. So the players, the skill level has improved, as you can see by the results against the Kiwi teams in the Super Comp. But from a coaching point of view, we're always walking away a little bit wiser talking to those state coaches.
I guess with solid through his defensive capabilities and the way he can play like Marika, from an attacking coach perspective, when you have such a weapon, it's sort of how invaluable is that when you're trying to plan a set plays to just have someone who's his type of energy, his type of explosiveness, that that can go for the full 80 minutes at your disposal?
Yeah, look, he's pretty amazing. Having said that, I still think that there's bits where if you really look at the efforts of other players, what their I suppose the cameo that they provide for Marika then to express himself, I think that there's a lot of unsung heroes. So you look at Marika's try and you look at the two forwards who were folding around on that phase when there wasn't a South African forward in sight, and that was Arnold and McWright. They're doing their jobs. They're working hard. They're working harder than other teams. So that's an area that we've got to consistently get to, and that's a goal of ours.
Scott, have you ever seen the international game as close as it is at the moment?
No.
And just from is that an enjoyable aspect? Probably makes it hard to coach some teams.
Yeah, it makes it difficult for coaches, but it's good. It actually means that coming into the next World Cup, there's every country in that top 10 has a chance. So, the results are so varied, the styles are varied. It's an exciting time. So it's good times for rugby.
It's Joseph Suwali's been talked about in recent hours and the last day or so. He's not going to be, Australian rugby program for at least a year. But you having your rugby league background, can you what kind of skill set and what kind of player would a Joseph Suwali, what would he add to rugby or a Wallabies in a year or so's time or 2 years?
Oh, look, I mean, if he chose to come across he'd potentially fit in. But I don't want to take away from guys like Kellaway, Wright, Vunivalu, Campbell, Marika that are here, because those guys are damn good footballers. So I think that by entertaining any of this, and look, I've not spoken to him. I don't know him from a bar of soap. So I think, we're taking away from the blokes that we've got and the blokes that we're trying to develop. So on one hand, we're talking about development, and then on the other hand, you're talking about recruitment. So we're about development here at the moment.
Speaking of development, Sully Vunivalu, Dave said last week that it's probably more a spring tour sort of thing. Can you just tell us about his development and how he's tracking?
Yeah, he played for the West Bulldogs last weekend, had 6 touches, made 1 line break and had 1 kick. That's it. There's his stats. So if you want to watch him run around, I think he's playing a semi-final this weekend for the West Bulldogs if he is not selected.
So essentially what you're trying to say there is that you need more out of Sully. You need more work rate, need more...
No, not necessarily. I'm just quoting the way the game went. The bloke on the other wing, he got heaps of ball. So it's just the way the game went. But it just shows that we're tracking everything they do. So, the players from last weekend, Wilson played, Campbell played for UQ, scored 1 try, had a couple of try assists. We're watching everything that they do. Through the A program, we're trying to expand the amount of games that we get for our I suppose, our top flight rugby players.
Last couple for Scott, please, guys.
Scott, you mentioned how Christy asked you how close the things are at the moment, and it feels like the tournament, the Rugby Championship's never been as close as it is currently. You'll be focusing one game at a time, but does things like letting that bonus point slip on Saturday become more in focus as this tournament comes to an end?
Oh, look, yeah, it does. I mean, you're filthy that you miss that point. You're absolutely livid. We were really disappointed with that last sort of 8 to 10 minute period, and we had chances there. Even when it was 3 tries to 1, we had another chance to off a set piece to do something. So once again, that's another part of our development as a team. We've got to be a little bit more cutthroat, a little bit more ruthless in that regard. So it's definitely something we've spoken about and we've worked on.
And just a quick one on the impact of Laurie Fisher on his arrival. And he's only there for a short time, but what sort of impact has he had in a week already?
Oh, look, he's an amazing coach. So he's just jumped straight in. He hasn't missed a beat really. It's like an old bucket hat. It's very, very comfortable. So he's come in and done his job. He's got his own sort of way with his coaching, with his wicked sense of humour, but he's demanding. He demands excellence. He demands standards. So he's been, it's been good to work with Laurie.
I know you haven't got him a bucket hat yet. Are you going to find him one this week?
We're trying. Terry toweling. So you never know. There's a couple of caps lying around. I might sort of hack them to pieces and then whack the Wallaby logo there and a bit of Cadbury and ATCH over here somewhere.
Anything else pressing for Scott, guys?
Yeah, I've got one. Was he just with Noah Lolesio? Dan was on in your spot this time last week talking about wanting to just be solid, to do his job and to kick the ball in the right areas and game manage. A, did you think he did a good job in that? And B, how have you seen him as far as kind of his mental application as a bloke who's been in and out of the team, being able to come back into that important spot?
Yeah, okay. Well, first one, Pato, is how do you think he played?
Thought he played well, yeah, but you're the coach, I'm not.
No, that's true, mate. But, you spent a couple of weeks with us in Argentina. It was good. I just wanted to hear your opinion.
I don't get paid as much as you, Scott, so that's why we ask you the question, mate.
You journos are always crying poor, the whole lot of you. I can see you all smiling too. All right, let's get on with it. I thought he was solid. He did his job. There's areas that we can still touch on there with Noah. The most impressive thing for me was when we scored that first try with McWright if you go back 2 phases beforehand and you look where Noah is, he's connected to the forwards, but the authority that he had with telling him what he wanted, how he wanted it, and was organising, that to me was the most impressive part of his game. I enjoyed that because he, whether you're right or wrong, if you're demanding things, commanding things, then blokes are going to show up for you. So, yeah, look, he's got, there's a fair bit. We're always trying to develop with Noah, but look, it was a good fresh start back, I suppose.
He's been entitled maybe to kick stones if he was that sort of guy from missing teams and stuff. But what have you seen from him as far as, his work in Argentina, for example, when he's not in the team? Is he got a good head on his shoulders? Yeah,
look, the one thing that we wanted from Noah is to be a bit more aggressive because he's such a nice bloke. And as a coach, that's what I want. I want him to be filthy if he's not selected. I want him to come to me and go, well, why? How are we going to do this, and what are you going to do for me? Because that's my job. Just to have that, and it's not being rude, but just definitely in that role as a player who touches the ball than most players in the team, he has to have that authority and that command. And to do that, you actually have to practice it daily, talking in wants and needs. So I'm going to Maslow's hierarchy here and all the rest of it. That's how we operate on the field. I need you here. I want you here. If you don't show up, there's going to be consequences. Now, it's aggressive language. And off the field, Noah's nothing like that. But that's part of his development, controlling men.